Welcome to Ask the First Selectman. I'm Jim Cameron, your host and the program director of Darien TV79, and this is a new show for us, so I want to explain what the ground rules are. First Selectman John Zagrodzky has graciously agreed to answer your questions, our viewers, and just to give him a fair chance and do a little homework, what I've done is I've shared the topics of the question, the general gist of the question with him in advance so he could be somewhat prepared. But I'll be asking him your questions verbatim and any necessary follow-ups. Now, we may edit longer questions, but we're not going to edit Mr. Zagrodzky's answers. So what he says is what you are going to hear. So first of all, welcome, First Selectman John Zagrodzky. Thank you very much for being with us and giving us of your valuable time.
Well, thank you, Jim, for having the idea to have this video series. I think it's a terrific idea, and it's not actually gracious for me to answer questions. I'm happy to answer questions anytime. So hopefully these will be useful answers to the folks who are watching.
Great. So let's dive in with question number one. This comes from Kathy on Old Stone Road, and she says it's very disheartening to have Pear Tree Beach closed for so long with no information about what caused the bacteria. She says Weed Beach is wonderful, but for little kids, nothing beats Pear Tree's west-facing beach. Is it true that there is raw sewage in Long Island Sound, and if so, is it coming from Darien?
So thanks for that question. It was disappointing to have Pear Tree Point Beach closed like that. So how that happens is we do regular water testing in all our beaches to make sure that they're safe. And in this particular case, they had done a test, I believe, on a Monday morning. And when they ran the test, they found high levels of bacteria, high enough that they wanted to close that beach just for the public safety. Now, what was interesting about this test is a few things. First of all, there was a spot test in that one particular area. They had done testing in various other locations, including Weed Beach, and had not found significant levels of bacteria contamination, or at least not that would warrant closing the beaches. And so it wasn't that there was bacteria everywhere. It was actually just in that one particular spot. And so not knowing what the source of the bacteria was or just how dangerous it might have been, they decided to close that section of the beach. I did have a chance to talk with a few folks. They confirmed that it's not raw sewage, right? The days of having residents or having unprotected septic systems leaking or leaching sewage into Long Island Sound, that's certainly not true anywhere where we are. And so that was not the source of this bacterial contamination. Our sense is that probably it was one of two things. One is maybe a boat dumping something into the water, or frankly, we've had a number of storms lately and that could have concentrated some bacteria or other contaminants that took a couple of tidal cycles to wash out. And that's likely what caused it. The only other thing I would mention is that because of the timing of our normal weekly testing and the fact that we had the July 4th holiday and a few other things, we were not as quick as we could have been in terms of retesting the water to get it back open. And I know that disappointed some folks. So unfortunately, we had an odd circumstance with a strange test sample that we weren't seeing anywhere else right around a holiday period that resulted in some inconvenience, which we regret. But the main thing is that we did close the beach when we thought it was unsafe, and it is safe to be back in the water now.
Great. And there's the answer to your question, Kathy. If you have a question for the First Selectman, you can just email it to us at darientv79@gmail.com. And your question may be asked on a future show. You can pose your question using your name, or you can ask the question anonymously. So thank you, John, for joining us today on the program. And I would encourage our viewers to stay tuned for the next edition of Ask the First Selectman.